Douglas, Holyfield, Lewis, Williams, McBride. The only people to defeat the baddest man on the planet, Kid Dynamite, Iron Mike Tyson himself, in a professional boxing match. But before all these men was one other, Little Mac. No, it's true, ask Mario, he'll tell you. Little Mac from the Punch-Out series of video games is arguably one of the most famous fictional boxers of all time, aside from maybe Rocky Balboa, Homer Simpson in that one episode, and Joe Yabuki for you old school weebs out there. But how legitimate is Little Mac's boxing? Today we'll be taking a look at techniques Mac has used in some of his appearances and see if they'd hold up in a boxing ring.
Cool.
First up is Mike Tyson's Punch-Out from 1987. If you don't know what Punch-Out is, it's a player versus PC fighting game with a behind-the-player character view where you duke it out with 13 opponents in 3 circuits and then face off against Mike Tyson himself.
Whoa.
Here, due to limitations in hardware, graphics, and just gameplay style overall, Mac has only 8 techniques. Right and left straight, right and left uppercut, right and left slip, block, and the star punch.
What is a star punch?
It's like a really big jumping uppercut.
Okay.
As someone who stays pretty much the entire match glued to the same place and trades punches for 3 minutes straight without even trying to push his opponent back to get center control, get inside the opponent's range, or even change angles, Mac is a textbook brawler type boxer. For those who don't know, a boxer brawler is generally considered as someone who is aggressive and solely pursues knockout punches in a range where they themselves are susceptible to the same damage. So basically just planting your feet and trading punches wherever the opponent happens to be.
Bruh.
Of course, gameplay limitations also contribute to making Mac look like a sitting duck, standing in the middle of the ring the entire 3 minutes while his opponent jumps around doing God knows what. Now, what's wrong with his punches then? His straights come with a huge step and dropping the backhand, and the uppercuts and star punch look like he's jumping pretty high. Since all of Mac's opponents are twice his size, he basically has to jump to reach any of them.
Why would he fight such big opponents? They're not in the same weight class. What's going on?
Jumping isn't forbidden in a boxing match as long as the punch lands above the belt and with the proper part of the glove, but there aren't really too many situations where you benefit from jumping while striking in the ring. The few cases that come to mind are the Gazelle Punch made famous by Floyd Patterson, its offshoot, the Frog Punch used by real-life Japanese boxer Koichi Wajima, a move where you drop into a deep squat and launch yourself into a hook.
Isn't that the one from Ippo?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Also, Soviet-style boxing overall has a lot of dashing and leaping jabs and crosses, and the footwork is really springy and floaty. Only thing I wouldn't berate Little Mac for are his side slips and block, but otherwise, if anyone I ever coached punched the way Little Mac here does, I'd beat the shit out of them myself. But I do get the dropping of hands in terms of making clearer silhouettes for an 8-bit game. I won't chew a game from 1987 too hard for its inaccuracy when it comes to punching techniques, especially when the opponents are goofy ass guys like Von Kaiser, who shakes his head before every jab. Unfortunately, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out doesn't have any cutscenes we could infer more from about Mac's boxing skills, except the ones between circuits where he does road work, which, to be fair, is an essential part of boxing training. Also, the theme is hype as fuck. But hey, Lil Mac does end up beating the baddest man on the planet with a body that looks like mine. And with a limited and frankly shitty set of skills. I guess this just shows us that becoming a world champ takes more heart than technique. Overall, I'd give this depiction of Little Mac like 2 out of 5 boxing gloves. Yeah, we're rating them now.
Damn. With boxing gloves?
Yes.
Crazy.
1 point for accuracy from just the fact that he punches with gloves in a ring. And another for, you know, the song. Next we have Punch-Out for the Wii. Released in 2009, it was the 5th mainline Punch-Out game and the last to come out so far. Here we sadly don't see a 3D Mike Tyson, but a replacement called Mr. Sandman they made after Tyson went to jail for being a big silly dummy.
Okay.
The game is basically a reboot of the franchise, but the opponents got amped up to 11 with all these wacky cutscenes and even goofier in-game animations. Since it's a reboot, the moves Mac uses aren't all that different. He still has the right and left straight, right and left slip, block, and the star punch, but instead of uppercuts, this time he's got right and left body hook. Mac still drops his hands, but at least he's not jumping all the time. Where the difference really comes are the cutscenes showing Mac's training.
We see the boy training.
Yes. He does some pretty good conditioning with super strict one-arm push-ups, jump rope, dumbbell bicep curls with what looks to be maybe like 17.5 kilos worth of plates, hanging crunches, speedball, and lots of road work.
Ahead.
I sure hope
it does.
Just a shame, even when he's on the bag or hitting mitts, he keeps dropping his hands and his elbows flare out pretty severely. Unlike the brawler of the first game, the heavy back punching, mitt work and his in-game body shots make him seem more like an infighter. Someone, usually shorter than their opponent, who gets inside of the opponent's reach and does damage with barrages of hooks and uppercuts. One of the greatest real-life infighters was a champion with a record of 64 wins and 4 losses, the Manasseh Mauler Jack Dempsey, who Mike Tyson has said on multiple occasions to be the inspiration for his own style.
Wow.
A good fictional example would be Makunochi Ippo, who has a signature technique specifically coined by and named after the previously mentioned Jack Dempsey. A move where you bob and weave side to side, launching powerful hooks from close range, the Dempsey roll.
Jet engine.
And screeching tires. But none of your training really matters if you don't perform well in a match. And since once again Mac wins all these weird lunatics with basically 3 punches, I can't really complain, right?
Yeah.
Well, I can!
Oh.
Because his technique still looks like shit. Tekken 6 came out 2 years earlier, and look at Steve Fox in that one. Great footwork, diverse dodge and slip options, both peekaboo and Philly shell on top of the standard orthodox stance, parries, flicker jabs, and even some sneaky dirty boxing. A perfect in-game depiction of multiple aspects of boxing. I gave the 1987 Punch-Out some leeway for the hardware limitations, but I don't think they have any excuse here. If they wanted to keep the game mechanics the same, then fine by me, but they could have at least tried to fix his technique, right? Mac's in-game look isn't all that different from the first one, and the training montage music doesn't hit as hard here, so I have to dock some points for that. But his training cutscenes flesh out his style and somewhat make up for the in-game shortcomings. I'd give maybe 3 out of 5 boxing gloves for Wii Mac.
That's still an improvement.
It sure is. Good for you, Mac.
Good job, Mac.
When I started writing this video, for the last entry I was planning on going through Little Mac's moves from the Smash Bros series. But since my friend couldn't record Smash gameplay on his Switch, I didn't get any footage for his moveset, and I have to leave it for some other time. So, anyway, Little Mac is almost like a boxer, I guess.